But if you want to use the image from your computer, you'll just need to get the path to that image on your computer. So for example, on a PC, it might be C:/document settings and so on and so on. On a Mac, it would look more like a file://users and so on. So you'd want to find that path, and you would paste it in where we just pasted that web URL. So if people are interested in trying that out during lunch, just come and find me. I know a couple of people were. And one important thing to note about that, I was asked, well, if I use a photo from my laptop, but then I want to share this file with someone else, like a colleague, will they be able to still see that photo because it's on my desktop? If you save it as a KMZ, it will bundle that photo up and you'll be able to send it and they can see it. It's just important to note. That's when the saving as KML versus KMZ comes in important. So I don't have much time left, but I am going to do a kind of quick series of different demos for you. And if you want to do hands-on with this during lunch, again, you can come find me. I wanted to show you how to embed a video from YouTube. If your organization goes out and creates videos and then you want to make your map more rich by embedding those. If your video is hosted on YouTube, and I just found a Capybara video on YouTube here, you can get the embed code to embed this in your website or in your info window on your map. If you go to the share button, first you have a link here that most people use to share, if you're sending a video to your mom or your friend. But if you click on this embed button right here, you'll get a little bit of code. If you copy that code and switch back to Google Earth, and I'm going to use the range. If you click Get Info or Properties on the range, and you paste that code in, you'll see that's the same code that I just copied from YouTube, and click OK. Now when I click on that, the video will actually load in the info window, and so your public will be able to go ahead and click on the video and watch it right there in the map. So that's one quick demo. Then the other thing I wanted to show you very quickly was touring. So I don't have time to show you a couple finished examples of tours, but basically, touring is creating an animation in Google Earth, being able to record that animation, and then share it with other people. And you can share it through Google Earth by sharing a KMZ file with others and letting them view it in Google Earth. But you can also turn it into a YouTube movie and put it up on YouTube so even more people in the public can see it. So to create a tour, you'll use this video camera button right here. If you click on that, you'll see that a little record button comes down here. And you can just record a tour without sound by clicking on the red dot button. But if you want to record a tour with audio narration, you can click on the microphone button, and that'll record both what you're seeing on screen in Google Earth and also what you're saying. So this comes in really handy because you're able to actually describe the map to the public and really explain its importance and go into more detail. So if I click on the microphone, it's going to start recording everything I'm doing. As soon as the counter starts counting down, it means it started recording. So now I'm in 4 or 5 seconds, so I better start moving. So I can pan around. I can start talking about the capybara and talk about its habitat and other things. I can, for example, I could pop the balloon, and then I can hit stop. And you probably can't hear it. Can you hear that at all? But I actually can see the animation I've just done, and my voice gets played back to me. So obviously this is just a very rudimentary tour, and you can get very sophisticated with it back at home when you have more time. If anybody's interested in playing with that during lunch, just come and see me. So, then the last couple things I wanted to demo to you. Before I move on, I just want to mention, I was showing you the free Google Earth that you can download from the internet for free, but there's also Google Earth Pro, which has more sophisticated capabilities. So for those of you that do GIS or if you wanted to make movies out of your tours to put up on YouTube, or do high resolution printing, Google Earth has those features. It's a service that, or a sophisticated software that most companies pay for, but we give software grants of it to eligible nonprofits. So if you're interested in that, come talk to us later. And then the last thing I wanted to hit on before I hand it back off to Karen is Google Fusion Tables, which we mentioned earlier, a lightweight database in the cloud for storing table data. So if you have spreadsheets of information, for example, that have location information about different species, different sites of interest, you can upload these to Fusion Tables, and then you'll be able to actually map them and create charts out of them. So this is just one example from the same survey cultural map with plants and animals. I have all of the different animals in a spreadsheet, and you'll see that I have a latitude and longitude column. I have other information about them, such as their names in different languages, and a description, and actually an image column right here. So this I have right now in a Google spreadsheet. I could have it in a CSV or various different table formats. And what I can do in Google Docs is I can actually create a Fusion table with that spreadsheet by going to Create, More, and then Fusion Table. Many of you may have not gotten quite far, it's rather hidden, but if I go to that, I can actually import that spreadsheet into Fusion Tables. And since I don't have much time, I'm not going to go through every step, but I do want to show you what it looks like once it's in Fusion Tables. So you can see this looks very similar to the same spreadsheet I was just showing you, has the same columns, but that column that was the image URL on the web is displayed actually as an image, which is quite cool. It does that for you. And then the awesome thing is that it automatically creates a map of your data as long as you do have a location column. The location column does not have to be latitude and longitude, but it can be. It could also be, for example, an address, a city name. You can also bring GIS data into Fusion Tables, but for this example, I'm just using latitude and longitude. So if I click on the Map tab, I can actually see the map of my spreadsheet, my table of data, and I can see a point for every row in that spreadsheet according to the lat long of the row. And if I click on it, it actually opens up an info window, and it has all of the information that was contained in that row about that one point. In this case, it's about the macaw. And so it's quite cool. It creates these maps very quickly, and then you can edit the different styles on the map very easily. So for example, if I wanted to change these from green dots, I could click on this arrow and change the map style and change it, for example, to large red place marks. And so it'll change it right away. I could also change the way that info window appears when I click it by clicking on the down arrow again, going to change info window layout. And for example, let's say I wanted to say Survey cultural map at the top. I could save that, and now that word will appear at the top. So it's a great way to handle lots of information if you have a ton of data and you want to map it easily. Yes?
Can we do polygons?
You can do polygon data, yes. Yeah. But you'll need to bring that in, for example, as KML. Or you'll need to use a converter to bring shapefiles in. Yes?
Do we always have to use WGSD before or latitude and longitude?
Good question. I might refer that to a member of the team.
This is a Karen question.
Yeah, this is a Karen question. Do you have to use WGSD for?
For the latitude longitude columns, yes. But if you have
latitude, longitude columns, yes, but if you have GIS data like shapefiles, then you can save them as KMZ or use a tool, another tool called Shape Escape, which we can put a link to on the website, and that'll automatically put it into Fusion Tables and do all the reprojection for you. Yeah, it's very cool. We've heard from people that they want UTM support, UTM projection support. for. And I'm not sure when that will ever be implemented, but it's something that they've heard and that they would like to do if possible.
Okay, great, thank you. And I did want to mention too that, I was talking about the Google Earth that's free and Google Earth Pro, which you have to either pay for or get a grant of as a nonprofit, but Google Fusion Tables is completely free. And all you need to use it is a Google account. Okay, yeah?
If you put in the second image, if you wanted to add a second image, would that appear, could you, and would it appear below the first image or as a slideshow?
You can put it in below the first image, but if you want to get fancy with the HTML in the info window, let me show you that again. If you go to change info window layout, if you know enough of HTML, you can embed YouTube videos there or put fancier things in the info window if you want, like a slideshow.
So sorry, so if you had a series of photos, you could, rather than a YouTube video, you could turn that into a slideshow using some HTML code.
Yeah, what you probably want to do is, instead of having those photos be contained within the table, you'd want to create slideshows, for example, on Picasa, of the photos. If you created a separate slideshow, for example, for each different point, and you would put the embed code from that slideshow into a column and reference that. That would probably be the best way to do it, unless one of the team members can think of a better way.
Yeah, Picasa has slideshow capability for an entire album, and Flash, you can always create it like an SWF with Flash and make your own. But the easiest way is Picasa slideshow.
Yeah.
How do we share it over the internet?
Yeah, so great question. One of the awesome things about Fusion Tables is it is very easy to share. And it's also, you can collaborate on it. So much like Google Docs, if you're familiar with that, you can give people view access to it, or you can add them as editors and collaborate with others. But for example, let's say you just wanted to embed this map on your website. First, you would need to make sure that it was public or that people with the link can view. And then you would go to, again, this down arrow, and you would click on Publish. And then that gives you a link that you can share in an email, and it also gives you the HTML code you need to embed it on a website. Any other questions? So come find us during lunch if you want to try out Fusion Tables. It is really fun to use, so I'm sorry we didn't have enough time to do hands-on with that. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Karen now to talk about Maps Engine. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Raleigh. So that was a great, very quick survey of the authoring tools for Google Earth and Google Maps and Google Fusion Tables. And if you want to learn more information, remember the website, and scrolling down under the section that Raleigh added called Simple Map Making with Google Earth and Google Maps. It starts out simple. What we did today was simple, but it can get more and more complex, as you can tell with slideshows and things like that. You can see here that there's a section, and there's going to be a section on every single section today where you can learn more. Where can you learn more? And there's going to be ways, links to tutorials. There's going to be links to examples of other organizations who have done this and how they did it. So for example, later if you remember, well, what's that good for? You can read about an example. And then finally, if you are an eligible nonprofit, a charitable organization in something about 60 to 70 countries around the world we're launched in, then you are eligible for a grant for these paid software grant for these paid products to get a license for free. Okay, so don't forget about that. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Okay. And then I'm also collecting a text document here of things that we're going to demonstrate at lunch. And so one thing we can do is show how to embed a Picasa slideshow, which might be interesting to some people. So those kinds of things we'll just do. It'll be fun. If you think embedding slideshows is fun, which I do. All right. So I wanted to revisit this picture again. This is from our morning opening slide, and it shows the context of where we are. So as you can see, we've covered Google Earth and Google Maps. Raleigh didn't go into great detail about Google Maps, but one thing about it is that anything that you created in Google Earth and you save as a KML or KMZ, you can import into Google Maps. And anything that you create in Google Maps, which has similar point, line, polygon, it's not as in-depth as Google Earth. It's very much more simple map-making. You can then visualize in Google Earth. So those are very compatible. So we learned Google Earth and Google Maps had a good survey of kind of some basic authoring tools and fusion tables. And we have this under the hosting box here because it's important to know that that data is automatically hosted on the web. That said, what Raleigh was showing you was private to her, completely private. Not until she clicks share and writes in your email can you see it, or until she clicks public does the world see it. So that's important to know. Everything you did in Google Earth is on your computer, it's not public. Not until you save it and email it to me or someone else, or post it on your website. And with that, there are a lot of tutorials on our website that show you how to do things that Raleigh did. For example, annotating Google Earth, including embedding images and YouTube videos. And if we click on these links, you can see kind of the great detail that we've gone to show step by step by step. So if any single point of today's morning's talk or in the rest of the day is confusing, you can redo it and review images and text in your own time, when you have more time. And you can see here that there's one on creating a tour, if that interests you, and how to embed Google Earth on your website, even importing GPS and GIS data. So there's lots here. A lot of hours.
Could you mention the different languages?
Yes, good point. So if you scroll down, we have it in many languages: Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, Dutch, Italian. And we are, every time that we attend or launch our program in a new country, we localize or we translate our pages. So we hope to someday launch in South Korea and Japan and India and many more places, just not yet. All right. So with that, I'm going to move on to the next portion of the agenda. And we have about 5 minutes before lunch, which is, before coffee break. Don't get too excited yet. No, before coffee break, which we want to take a nice half hour and we can ask questions and also have some coffee. But that's a perfect amount of time to introduce the first introductory slides of the next tool. And again, you can find these slides right here, scrolling down, posting your data online for your organization. Introduction to Google Maps Engine. All right. So Google Maps Engine, I mentioned in the introduction a little bit, is a great tool for storing data that you have already created or somebody else has already created that you want to join together and host on the internet in your private place or private repository for your geodata. You can make it public if you want, or share it with specific people, or keep it completely private. And this is a screenshot of a very active account. All this data, some of this data may be public, some of this data may be private to that organization, but they've given us permission to share some of their screenshots with you. They are very imagery heavy, which is really great for them because sometimes server space or in your organization's server room may be hard to come by. With imagery takes up a lot of memory. And so they have a lot of imagery here. And you can see here that they have several different pages, 24 pages. This is number 7 out of 24 pages of imagery and geodata. And you can do very large-scale data processing. You can process the data, you can mosaic data in multiple tiles together. And you can manage style and then publish that data. So you can manage, meaning add me if you want me to see your data, or add the entire organization, or add another organization. If Jane Goodall wants to, Jane Goodall Institute wants to share data with Save the Elephants, they could add them and they could become viewers or even editors of that data. Or they could make it public to the world and then embed it on your website. And then style allows you to style data similar to ArcGIS or other QGIS, other GIS platforms, as well as Google Earth allows you to change colors and transparencies, things like that, and then share it or publish it to the world. And sometimes if you're a GIS specialist and you spend a lot of time publishing data to Google Earth because it's hard to get things right and easy to view on Google Earth for publishing, this makes it much easier. It streamlines it, it tiles it, it does it all for you. And so it's really, especially for large, heavy data sets, for example, continental or global data sets, it's very powerful for you. So 4 quick steps about Google Maps Engine. The first one is upload your data. The second one is organize that data.